Hello, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Professor, where we respond to viewers' questions on things ranging from economics to great deeds and people in the past, to enormous disasters in the past, to enormous disasters brewing in the present.
All right, here's a question from one of our most faithful backers, Bill, who asks, he says, I've been watching politicians for years, and I've noticed one thing they all seem to have in common, no matter which side of the aisle they sit on. The first instinct when asked a tough question is to lie or, to be fair, bend the truth a little. And he's wondering why that is. And I'm sure the answer can't be just because politicians are all liars.
Politicians are not all liars, at least they don't all start out that way. It's important when you watch politics to grasp that 90% of the people who go into it because they are disgusted with the low moral tone, with the evasiveness and deceit, with the manufactured anger and the artificial talking points. But something happens to them. It happens to them quickly, and it is a very thorough process because within months, in virtually every case, they are behaving in precisely the way that they condemned, and what's more, they don't notice that it has happened. And I will just throw in an anecdote. I used to be on the Ottawa Citizen editorial board, and people would be forever coming to see us to lobby for their cause, including a lot of politicians. I never understood why we let them in, but I didn't have that decision. So they would come in, and you would ask them a question that was a tough question, but they must have seen it coming. I mean, we had a reputation in those days as a rather libertarian board. We were going to criticize big government. Every question, I think, with perhaps one exception in 100 that we put to a politician, the first word out of their mouth was, well. Mm-hmm. They were equivocating. They were temporizing. They were trying to think of something that would sound good. Nobody said yes. Nobody said no. Nobody said, oh, shut up, you idiot. They licked our journalistic boots, even while secretly despising us, but they never gave a clear answer they could be pinned down to. Why is this? Well, politics rewards people who, in the immortal words of a character in WKRP in Cincinnati, are firm but flexible. And it becomes a habit. It eats into your soul. But I say that while continuing to be convinced, and this may just reveal why I should never run for office, not that I would get within a mile of it if I did. I think a politician who tells the truth, or says what's on their mind without equivocation, brings welcome relief to the electorate, to the point that you get people like Rob Ford or Donald Trump, who personally, I find the contents of what they say in their minds to be repellent. I know nihil nisi bonum, Rob Ford is dead, but the fact of the matter is that if he'd been held to a higher standard in what he said, the way he said it would have been a great public service. With Donald Trump, I do not know that such a thing is possible. But why is Trump so popular? He's popular because he's not one of these equivocators. But the funny thing is, much of what Trump says is a lie. He makes stuff up all the time, from linking Ted Cruz's father to the Kennedy assassination to claiming he had a brilliant memory, and then he goes into some court case and is deposed, and his answer to everything is, I can't remember, I can't recall, it was a long time ago. But what makes Trump appealing to people is that what comes out of his mouth is what's in his head. And the problem is what's in his head.
Yeah.
But with most politicians, even Justin Trudeau's turned into this. There was a time when he made these highly entertaining gaffes on a regular basis.
And he was refreshing for it.
Yeah, he was. I think it helped make him leader of the Liberal Party. But now it's all smooth and rehearsed, and none of it means anything. And it's one of these classic things where people improve their public relations strategy until it's a total disaster. But the demands of politics seem somehow to require that you never admit error, you never concede that your side has any problems or that the other side might be onto anything. And yet, when you look at the people who are admired to this day, people like George Washington, these are people who did say what they thought and who were willing to let posterity sort it out. He wrote a letter to the Marquis de Lafayette after they'd finished drafting the Constitution where he said, if it is good, it will succeed. If not, it will recoil upon the founders. That was the way Washington thought about things. And I'm sure he occasionally bent the truth or smoothed things over by not putting things as bluntly as he might have. But on the whole, he was a very forthright man, and he was a statesman. Like the Duke of Wellington, I happen to think of him as being an excellent prime minister. I think we need more of that these days. Again, a man who said what he thought. So I believe that although the problem is pervasive, it arises as much from timidity in the modern politician as from the genuine requirements of politics. And if we could just get somebody who is as blunt as Don Cherry, but without saying the kind of things that Donald Trump says, I think you would find that it would revolutionize not just the partisan landscape, but the way we do politics.
All right. So worth trying then.
Exactly. As George Washington said, erect a standard to which the wise and honest may repair. Even if they don't repair to it, you still feel better about yourself than 20 years in politics mouthing these mealy evasions. And then at the end of it saying, where did my career and my life go? I went in with such high ambitions. I think it must be very weird for people to leave politics and suddenly go, hey, wait a minute.
What have I done all these years?
I had a to-do list and I had a don't-do list. And I ran through the latter and I totally ignored the former.
All right, then. That's not very cheerful. But there you go. I hope Bill is happy with your answer. Thanks for that. If you would like to ask your question of the professor, go to the URL on your screen and everything there will be explained. Thanks, and see you next time.